Good afternoon. Welcome. My name is Representative Lily for the Lou, Elizabeth Fuchs, House District 80. Thank you all for being here. We wanted to hold this press conference today at the start of this week to really highlight the serious nature of our democracy. Last week, in the People's House, voices were silenced. The Intersectional Equality Conference is committed to amplifying the voices of the most marginalized Missourians. This week, we are preparing to hear more bills that will undermine the voters of Missouri as we perfect HJR 73, which is a bill that will put abortion back on the ballot and also gives Missouri voters, unfortunately, the opportunity to discuss a ban on gender-affirming care. Let's be clear. The Missouri GOP is wasting the money of Missouri taxpayers when we debate bills that have already been decided on by the people, and when we attack a very small percentage of the population who are already vulnerable. We do not want our identities politicized. We want to be left alone. However, because they keep filing bills about us, we have to call on community for action, and we have to alert the press about raising awareness of the hypocrisy. Because you see, if they wanted to protect children, we wouldn't have spent hours last week debating whether we should put guns on buses, because guns are the #1 killer of children in this state and in this country. So if we wanted to protect children in this state, I don't know that we would have spent that much time just having that discussion. And with that, I would like to welcome my colleagues to address you today.
Hello, everyone. I am Wick Thomas. I am the representative from Jackson, District 19, and we welcome you all today. In the spirit of the powerful caucuses that have come before and who have paved the way for justice and equality in the Missouri House of Representatives, we are excited to announce today that the Intersectional Equality Conference has been officially approved by the Missouri House of Representatives and will now be a vehicle that we can use to organize around these issues, around issues that affect marginalized Missourians throughout the House. And so thank you all for being here for this. In response to recent federal executive orders, Missouri state executive orders, and proposed Missouri state statutes that seek to undermine and marginalize vulnerable communities in Missouri, while also attempting to erase diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts across state departments and agencies, over 30 representatives have come together as legislators committed to advocating for our communities. Our goal is to protect and advance rights for those who are at most risk of harm in Missouri. And the Equality Conference is much needed in the current Missouri legislature. The Republican supermajority has introduced nearly 100 bills specifically targeting the gay and trans communities. While Missourians are struggling to pay rents and mortgages, afford groceries and childcare, the Missouri legislature is focused on spending countless hours and taxpayer dollars to control Missourians who are simply trying to live their lives without government interference. The legislature continues to attempt to divide us and turn us against our neighbors rather than focusing on real issues. As a lifelong Missourian, I was taught to love my neighbor and to welcome the stranger. Welcome the stranger with hospitality and grace and not in judgment. Last week, we saw many unfortunate bills that will come to the House floor this week. We've seen SB 10. It's the gender-affirming care and sports ban unconstitutionally snuck onto a tax credit bill. We've seen HB 1362, an ID bill, another anti-trans bill passed out of the Emerging Issues Committee that I sit on. We've seen hundreds of Missourians testify against these bills. Unfortunately, it has not changed a single Republican vote. SB 100, birth certificates. It'll make it impossible for trans Missourians to change their birth certificate. SJR 57, a bathroom bill. With no enforcement mechanism, this is dangerous to the children of Missouri. SS number 2, SCS SB 22, trying to make ballot measures more misleading. We've seen a consistent effort to overturn the will of the people and to remove Missourians from the process of legislation. and we won't stand for it. One of the biggest affronts that we saw last week was HJR 73. This bill would overturn abortion access, would once again make abortion access illegal, and they have also snuck in anti-trans legislation as ballot candy. That's bad enough, and last week we saw something even worse. It was that only 5 people, there were hundreds of people here to testify, only 5 people were allowed to testify either for or against. The vast majority of people here were testifying against this bill. Missourians already decided abortion is a private medical decision, and we have put it in the state constitution for a reason. So for a committee to not hear Missourians, we are supposed to give Missourians, people of Missouri, a chance to be a part of the legislative process. They deserve a reasonable right to be heard. And last week, they did not receive that. Last week, they were kicked out of the conference room, and this was sped through the committee. The public hearing and the executive session vote were on the same day. Only 5 people were allowed to testify. Everyone else had to submit written testimony, which was not even considered or looked at before the vote happened. This is unacceptable, and we believe it is a violation of the House rules. We have also seen a few good things. SB 38, the Crown Act, protects natural hair, and we have been continuing to negotiate the removal of the same-sex marriage ban from state statutes. This week, though, is an important week. Please reach out and be heard. I fear that the Republican supermajority will show you that its values do not align with working-class Missourians this week, and we are going to do everything we can to protect you. Let us continue to remember our shared responsibility to serve all Missourians, ensuring our state remains a place where everyone belongs. We have many exciting updates coming and a lot of plans in the works, and we welcome you on this shared journey with us. Thank you for being here, and with that, if anyone else has any statements, otherwise we will take questions.
A couple of months ago, you guys talked about, in a similar setting, a caucus that you guys wanted to have, and it wasn't approved by the House Speaker. I think it had a different name, though. Is it the same caucus, though, and you just kind of renamed it?
It's the same caucus, yeah. It has been officially approved in the Missouri House. It has appeared in the Journal and got the stamp of approval. So we are an official vehicle in the Missouri House of Representatives now, the Intersectional Equality Conference.
Maybe the floor leader is best positioned to answer this. The speaker a week and a half ago told us that 73 would be on the floor last week. My understanding was that every time it went to a different committee, it got a major rewrite. Are you confident that it is past that point and it will in fact be out here this week? And what gives you that confidence? I mean, and what's in it? I mean, is it the same SJR 73 that it started out as?
I'm happy to answer that.
Okay.
It is not the same HJR 73. So this is what I would consider the 5th iteration of the Republicans' proposed abortion ban. The first vehicle was HJR 54. That had 3 different versions before it finally died. The version that they have landed on for HJR 73 looks a lot like the second version of HJR 54. It's not identical, but it's very, very close. And what this does is essentially strike all of Amendment 3 out of the Constitution, which brings us back to the abortion ban that we were at before November of last year. And it does so in an incredibly misleading way, because as we know in HJR, if it is passed through the House, it goes to a vote of the people. Part of the process is writing ballot language that the voters will read when they decide what to do at the ballot box. The ballot language for this HJR begins by stating that it protects the right to reproductive freedom for all Missourians. And I can't think of a more disingenuous way to try to pass an abortion ban. Not only that, but as was mentioned before, the ballot candy that speaks to the current egregious biases against trans, non-binary folks, LGBT folks in our state. It is, in my opinion, a violation of the single subject clause that we already have in our Constitution that says if you want to pass something at the ballot, you cannot confuse voters by putting multiple things on there and making them choose between priorities. But this ballot language does exactly that. This HJR does exactly that, and I very much look forward to it being challenged.
I was going to say, do you just sit back, let it run its process because you know your numbers and you know their numbers, and have the lawyers on standby?
Absolutely. I think that the challenge, of course, that we constantly have in this building is that we are in the super minority. They do not need our votes to pass their priorities, and certainly when it comes to abortion, they will do whatever they want. They will get it passed if that is their priority and if they can get it together enough to get it to the governor's desk. But it is absolutely our intention and the intention of our stakeholders to challenge this at every step, no different than the way they challenged Amendment 3 at every step.
Do you think that if this goes before the voters, that it would have a chance of passing?
I worry that with the ballot candy and the way things are written as is, that it would pass, because I think Missourians would be incredibly misled by what they read when they go to take that vote. I think that if it's passed this year, that allows our stakeholders to stand up a 1.5-year-long campaign to fight this priority of theirs. And I do believe that with the right resources and the right messaging, we will win that fight. Missourians spoke loud and clear in November, and I very much anticipate them being well informed about this measure and voting it down.
Should the legislature have the opportunity to go back and look at constitutional amendments or statewide ballot initiatives to change them like they have in the past if they were bad as the legislature saw them? Is that something that you guys would still support if you were in the supermajority?
No, and I don't think so, and here's why. I think that Missouri has an incredibly unique system of allowing the general public to put their priorities on the ballot when their legislators aren't responding to their needs. And that's exactly what we've seen over the last 10 years in Missouri, whether it's right to work, Medicaid expansion, medical and recreational marijuana, abortion, Prop A, all of these things. The voters have said these are our priorities, but their lawmakers aren't acting on them. So no, I don't think it's the legislature's purview to go in and mess with what the voters told us that they want us to do. If this is a representative democracy, we should represent our constituents.
At the same time, though, those voters keep electing these lawmakers.
Absolutely.
How do you explain the dichotomy?
Well, you know, a lot of times when I sit down and think about it, all I can think of as someone who comes from a marketing background is that Democrats maybe have a little bit of a brand problem here in Missouri. But I don't think that is... I think part of the issue is that it is incumbent upon all of us to make sure that voters understand what their representatives are doing when they're here in this building. And I think that educating voters is so imperative ahead of the 26th cycle to make sure that folks really understand that, you know, even in districts that overwhelmingly voted to support Amendment 3, that they voted for someone who is down here actively undoing the will of their constituency.
Yeah, I just real quick too. I want to say that I'm from rural Missouri, and I think that rural Missourians are waking up to what's happening. I think people, as we start to struggle more, are getting more informed, and as people start to get more informed, more people will run for office, and I think that we will see a change in the Missouri legislature over time. I just want to say about 73, the Intersectional Equality Conference is going to do everything we can to make sure that that doesn't pass, that the will of the voters is respected, and that we don't enshrine more discrimination in our state constitution.
Yeah, here.
Representative, how many people were in the caucus? Do you have a number?
Yeah, we have over 30 people who have signed on initially and are ready to go. So.
Thanks,
Thank you all so
everyone.
much
Thank
for
you
being
very
here,
much.
and I'm sure we'll see you a lot more this week.
Thanks.